Welcome to this special YouTube edition of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from Impelliteri, Chris Impelliteri and vocalist Rob Rock, talking about their new album, Venom. Let's get right into it. Here is Chris and Rob. Speaking with Chris and Rob from Impelliteri. Is that how you say the name?
Perfect pronunciation, Mitch.
Huh?
You did better than I do.
There you
I can't
go.
pronounce my own name, but you did it. Impelliteri. You rock.
Impelliteri. There you go. Band's been around since 1988, Chris. Long storied career. New album is Venom. Why don't we start there? Who comes up with the music first or the concept for the album? Is it you, Chris, that brings it over to Rob, or do you sort of both get together and say, "Hey, it's time"?
Well, I mean, we've been writing partners for pre-Impelliteri release of '87. We were in a band called Vice together.
Right.
So we kind of grew up, musically speaking, in the clubs. And so musically, the way at least our relationship works is a lot of times I'll write the music, come up with a riff or whatever, and then I give it to Rob. And he basically has carte blanche, do whatever you will. And, sometimes I'll say, hey, listen, this is kind of a melody I heard in my head when I was playing this riff.
Right.
And, sometimes I go, oh, that's great. Other times I go, oh, that sucked. You're horrible. Stop trying to be a singer.
Right.
and so he'll do it. He'll do his thing. So to be honest, I mean, it always starts with me, yes, writing the music, and then I give that to Rob, and then he does his magic, and that's how it becomes Impelliteri.
Is that about right, Rob?
Yeah, it's a little deeper than that, I think, because Chris comes up with great riffs and stuff, and then he hands it off to me, and I try to come up with 2 or 3 melody ideas, and then I present him my best one, and if he likes it, that's the end of it. You can go with it, But if he has an idea, like he said, from riffing and from writing the song, he'll say, why don't you try this or something? And a good part of the time, it's a great melody, and then I'll take that and run with it. So and then he comes up with some working titles too, that end up being the titles that we use, like Venom was started from a working title. So
so go ahead.
We just our main thing between Chris and I is we want longevity. It's since day one, and longevity means good songs. So it doesn't matter who comes up with the idea. The best idea is what we want to go with, and I think that's how we've been able to continue writing albums after albums, is because we concentrate on the songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the last album, Wicked Maiden, was in 2009, a little 6-year break or gap, however you want to qualify it. What made you decide that, okay, 2015 is the time? Who came up with the it's now time to record? Chris?
Well, actually started getting called from some of the labels saying, hey, we want another Impelliteri record. Rob had been working on his solo band. I did a side project called Animetal USA, which is really anime-centric and really designed for or targeting a specific market, which was Japan.
Right.
And originally I was going to do the record much sooner with Rob. I really wanted to follow up with Wicked Maiden around 2011 because, we try to have these 2.5-year windows. However, in that cycle, the Animal thing I thought was going to be a project. It ended up turning into 3.5 years.
Right.
It was a really successful project in Japan. So that was taking a lot of my time, and Rob was busy with his stuff. So it wasn't intentful, but there was a blessing. Because it took so long, I had written a lot of riffs that were basically sitting, collecting dust, and it gave me time to get away from them. Because one of the problems as a writer, you write something and you often think, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. This is awesome. People are going to love this. And it's not until you get away from it, start working on other music or do other projects, come back to it with fresh ears and realize, oh my gosh, that's horrible. What was I thinking? So with this record, because we had that break, we were able to listen to a lot of these original ideas and say, oh my gosh, that's really good or that's terrible. And I think that's really was a blessing, having that 6-year window.
Yeah, it really was. And of course, Animetal was produced by Marty Freeman, formerly of Megadeth. Did you get a chance to work with him at all on the music, or was it one of these situations?
Of course. No, okay. Of course. Marty, on the first Animetal record, Marty sent all the demos to me. I mean, he basically demoed all of that because anime, it's, they have a very popular culture.
Right.
And there's famous anime music that's been written for anime movies and television. So what Animal USA were doing is they were following an original Japanese band in the early 90s called Animal.
Right.
And it was Sony's idea to put together an American version of this. And they wanted to put together big names, and they selected everybody. Hand selected, Rudy Sarzo, myself, Scott Travis originally, and Mike Viscera. And basically the idea was just kind of combined famous heavy metal riffs of other bands like Black Sabbath, Ozzy, stuff like that, and have Mike sing anime music over it, and then let me do my thing. So that's how it initiated. And I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, it's not a problem. I mean, is that project, because I actually interviewed Rudy about it. Is the project done, or is there something that you might pick up in like 2 or 3 years again and say, hey, it's time for another one?
I honestly don't know. I'm told by the management group and the label that there is going to be another record. I think they've signed with Warner Music for us.
Wow, that's cool.
But Impelliteri is my priority. I mean, The thing I've got with Rob, that takes precedence over everything. So if I have time, if we're on break, then yeah, maybe. But if not, Impelliteri's first.
Yeah, and let's get back to that, the new album, Venom. You also recruited John, and I don't know if you say Deet or Detty, who got a chance to play with Anthrax and Slayer and Iced Earth and all those wonderful bands. Tell me a little bit about bringing him into the band, and what does he add to the sound?
Well, I mean, our original drummer was Glenn Sobel, and I love
Alice
Glenn.
Cooper.
I mean, he's really good. Yeah, exactly, and I love Glenn. I mean, he's been like one of our brothers. I mean, would you agree with that, Ron?
Yeah. Glenn's been with us for quite a while.
And he, by the way, I know him, and I've had a chance to meet him and hang out with him. He is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And in terms of what he does on drums, especially with Alice Cooper, holy mackerel. I mean, what a talent. What a talent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're right on the money, Mitch, with that. And, that was a big criterion for us, because with Impelliteri, I mean, I've had the fortune, so has Rob, we've all played with some amazing drummers, right? Rob played with Tommy Aldridge and Driver. Yep. I had Pat Torpey from Mr. Big.
Yep.
People don't even realize Rob, do you remember when we first did the demo for Grin and Bear It? Do you remember who the drummer that was demoing, who was coming over to your apartment at that time in L.A.?
Yeah, I do.
You remember Eric Singer from Kiss?
Yeah.
The one and only Eric Singer. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been around a lot of great drummers, and Glenn was absolutely just a great compliment to the band. So, I called Glenn after Wicked Maiden to do Venom, and he was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to do it. But he was committed to do the Alice tour because they were out with Motley Crue.
Yep.
So at that point, I was like, my God, what are we going to do? And Rob had some people. And I thought about, I just come off the road with John Detty.
Right.
Doing Animetal. We did a lot of, like arena dates in Japan, and he was just really great, and I love thrash. As a matter of fact, the first record Rob and I did, which is called the Impelliteri Black EP, that record was borderline thrash with just great melodic vocals and screaming and shredding. So Detty, I thought, man, what a great way to recapture that fire.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
And plus, yeah.
I was just going to say, anybody who can play like Charlie Benente is definitely a talent. I mean, anybody who can, drum along to what he's done is definitely worth having on your team. Right?
Yeah. He was, I mean, what's interesting about Venom, and again, it's really important because Impelliteri is a band. It's, you got 4 guys making equal contribution, and John, he's the foundation, like the drums.
Right. And
because he had just finished touring with Anthrax and he did some dates as Slayer's drummer, he was just on fire. So we brought him in, and man, in the studio, he killed it. Everything came to life. It was like all 4 of us, the synergy, the sum of all parts was just so much greater than any one of us. And I think it really started with his drum tracks.
Oh, absolutely. Hold on a second here. We've mentioned Asia with Animetal and stuff, but the band itself has focused a lot on sort of the Asian markets. Is there going to be more of a push on the North American market with this release? Is there going to be a North American tour?
Well, I'm talking to you.
True.
For the
True
first
enough.
time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm in Montreal.
Absolutely. Okay. The answer is yes.
Okay.
We are definitely trying to push for an American and European full-blown tour. We are absolutely releasing our record for the first time in years in the United States, Europe, Canada, everywhere. And obviously Frontiers are doing a great job of bringing this to the market. I mean, we've got still about 3.5 weeks, I think, to the U.S. release, and we've got 3 new music videos coming. So it should be really exciting. I'm a little nervous. I don't know how people are going to respond to us. You know, I don't know if they're going to love us or they're going to hate us. But either way, we're going to definitely attempt this.
Well, listen, I think they're going to like it. It's really, from what I've heard on the videos, and I've actually had the album sent to me. It just full throttle. I mean, it's nonstop. It's in your face. It's the way it should be. Graham Bonnet was in the band for a couple of albums. What did he bring in terms of vocal prowess to the band, and what does Rob bring to the band? And now you got Rob on the phone, so he's going to hear your answer.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So I'll tell you basically how Graham ended up in the band originally. Right. When we first did the Impelliteri Black EP, Rob and I, there's something magical between our chemistry. And I just think it's perhaps because we grew up together as kids, playing in bar bands together, playing cover songs. And I think because we shared in that experience, we kind of developed similar musical tastes and also a writing style kind of evolved out of that. But, you know, when with the EP, we had released it, you know, Rob had found another project, I believe it was in Germany, that he was really passionate about. And decided to kind of follow that path. And at this point, I'm freaking out, going, "Oh my God, no, don't leave!" I mean, it's like we're starting to blow up. We're, you know, the cover of Circus magazine, Kerrang magazine loves our record. You know, the Impelliteri Black EP. And by the way, as I keep saying, Impelliteri Black EP, right. A couple of guys in the media asked me this, and I think it's probably good to bring this up. We did call the Impelliteri first album, which is called the Black EP, right. Has songs Lost in the Rain, Burning, Playing with Fire, and I'll Be Searching. Right. That was done 3 years before Metallica's Black Album. Just to set precedent, right?
And as a fun fact, the Black Album is actually not called the Black Album. Its real title is Metallica. It's a self-titled album, and fans have decided to call it the Black Album. So you definitely win. You got it out there first, and you actually called it the Black EP.
Exactly. But going back to the original question, so right. You know, Rob went off to pursue that, and I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do, and I had signed with Relativity and Sony Records, and they wanted another record. Right. And so basically, I had gotten called from a band called Alcatraz when I was a kid when I first came to LA to see if I'd be interested in replacing Yngwie Malmsteen. Right. And so basically from that day, I had met Graham Bonnet, and I really liked him, albeit he was quite a bit older than me, you know. But I liked him, and I thought, you know, this would maybe be a good time to just take a break and just do a side project, you know, until I could figure out what to do. So Impelliteri Stand in Line, to be honest, was never supposed to be an Impelliteri record. You know, the album, as much as, you know, some people like it, others hate it, and I'm in that group. I mean, sometimes I have periods of time where I like the music, but I also realize that it's not an Impelliteri record by any means. Right. You know what I mean? It's really what I started with Rob, and everything around, you know, the Graham Bonnet records you'll hear are much more aggressive. Right. So I was always a metal kid at heart. So, you know, with Graham, I mean, what I think he brought to the band, he had such an amazing, unique voice. You know, I really appreciate what he did, especially with like Rainbow, Michael Schenker Group, Alcatraz, and I really am indebted to him. Because to be honest, I think one of the big reasons we're popular in Japan is because of Graham Bonnet. You know, it was almost like, you know, our first Impelliteri Black EP did really well in Japan, but Stand in Line was monstrous. And I think it was because, you know, Graham had been in Rainbow, and at that time, Rainbow were massive. Right. You know, and of course, yeah, and so I think what happened is because Graham played with Michael Schenker Group, Richie Blackmore, Yngwie, Steve Vai, and then he joined Impelliteri for that project. I think people just embraced me. It almost didn't matter if I was good or I sucked. They were just making me a new, you know, guitar thing, hero, whatever they were calling me, right? So I really feel indebted, and I think he brought that to us.
Right, and then you brought him back in 2002 for System X.
Right, and at that point, that's when, you know, and Rob was doing a solo project. So at that point, I always said, what would it have been like if Graham and I would have done a metal record?
Right.
Stand in Line is really not by any means a metal record.
Of course.
So System X was every intent of let's do a hardcore metal record, and it was fun. We had Mudrock mixed it from a guy who did produce like Godsmack and Avenged Sevenfold.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it. And Graham, I mean, my God, he sings like a lion. He's insanely good. It was definitely an honor.
Oh, absolutely. And Rob,
Yeah.
while you're off doing those solo albums and, you see the Graham Bonnet albums come out, are you feeling any resentment, or you're like, oh, hey, good for him. We were both doing our own thing. Or do you sit back and go, man, I could have sang that better? What were your reactions?
No, I've never had any resentment at all, actually.
Okay.
And when I've heard Graham Bonnet, to me, like Rainbow Down to Earth was one of my favorite albums when I was growing up.
Absolutely.
Bar none. And when Graham Bonnet, singing with Chris, Stand in Line, I love that record. To me, it was right up that same alley. And I love that alley. So I really enjoyed the record. And then when Graham did the second one, I'm like, wow, Graham is Graham. I don't think Graham Bonnet compares to anybody. His voice, the way he writes, the lyrics, the way he does stuff is very unique. And me as a fan of Graham, I really enjoyed it because I love Chris's playing. So, it was cool to hear for me, but I never had any resentment towards it. And
but okay.
I'm just glad that, I'm mentioned in the same breath as Graham Bonnet, one of my childhood heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. But, after you've done Crunch in 2000, why did you step away?
Well, it was just, we had done Eye of the Hurricane. We did Answer to the Master, Screaming Symphony. We're doing a lot of stuff. And I wanted to branch out.
Okay.
And I didn't know if we were going to just continue down the same path. At that point, I don't think we really had, I think we were at the end of the deal. I'm not sure where we were at with that situation as far as JVC, but it was just, I just wanted to try something. I wanted to continue on with Impelliteri, and I wanted to do both things. But I think at that point, in that time, if you were in a band, you were in that band, and that's what you did.
Right. And
when I did a solo album, I think the band vibe might have been splintered a little bit. So, Chris, I got Graham to do another record, and I was doing my thing. And, it's not like today where guys have to do 2 or 3 projects just to stay alive,
Right.
So I think that the timing of all things just, when you're in the moment, and when you're passionate about what you write and what you want to do, it's just, things just happen the way they did, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Mitch, if I can interject too, though, but I will say this as far as what Rob brings. I mean, if I really, and not because he's in the band again, right? But if you really listen, he started the band, he'll end the band. I mean, the reality is I really think he's the voice of Impelliteri. I think he always has been, always will. It was always the core sound of what we created with that first Impelliteri Black EP. Especially go listen, kids that don't know about us, just go on YouTube and listen to songs like Lost in the Rain, right? If you listen to Lost in the Rain, it's almost like what Venom is today. It has that same aggression, insane singing. I mean, Rob is singing, in a stratosphere, tremendous power like a tenor, right? Great vibrato, all of that stuff. And, the solos are all crazy. It's shredding. It's very technical, very classically based. So, you almost hear where we are today. It just seems like it has continuity, right? And it's like a new step of growth for the band, but yet we're still in the same original path. We're sticking to our guns, if you will.
Yeah, and
I think that chemistry goes beyond just playing together too. I don't know. We're kind of like brothers, man. At least that's the way I feel. It's like no matter what happens, no matter what goes on, we're always going to be friends. We're always going to be close. And when we write together, it's just it works, and we both feel it, and it's an amazing chemistry there.
Yeah, and it really works. Venom is, again, like I said, it's a great sounding record. Rob, you're, if I can, you're a born again Christian. Does that have any impact on what you write and the lyrical content?
Well, I think it does in the back of my mind type situation, but I'm very forward and very vocal about. I sing from my heart, so whatever's on my heart, comes out, I'm not going to put it through a filter just to please a certain set of people. You know,
Okay.
I please myself as an artist. I please God as my own personal thing, and I think it is a personal thing. So, you know, when I'm writing songs like Empire of Lies, that's talking about basically the media
Right.
lying to you. You know, you get one story from Fox, one from NBC, one from CNN. You know, it's in building nations with that. And songs like Domino Theory, where it's about modern terrorism and stuff like that. I'm not sure those are Christian themed lyrics, but it's
Right.
honest. It's what's going on in the world today, and I think that's, to me, is real. That's what I think about. And when I hear the music, you know, and if I have, like, I've had a title Domino Theory for a while, it fit the song, and so I just go with it, man, because it's working, and it's good chemistry, and it fits the song, and if I'm enjoying it and writing it, and I believe in it, so to me that's the criteria. If I believe in the songs we're writing, then that should be enough, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. May I ask you one more question about that, or is that
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Um, you know, a lot of times when people get to that point where they become born again, they've gone through some kind of struggle, or things just aren't working, and you just need that rebirth, that restart. What was it that got you to that point where you said, "Okay, uh, it's time for a change and a positive change"?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, so
Okay,
I've always been surrounded by it,
okay,
and it's just, I think it's, I learned it, I believe it, I live it, and it's just a part of my life. I really didn't have that catastrophic moment,
oh, okay.
you know, where I switched over or anything. It's always been a part of me, and it still is, you know.
Okay, good. Where do we go from here? So Venom comes out in April, and then what are the plans for touring? What are the plans for? Do we make a live album? Do we start working on the next one? What's sort of the immediate future hold?
Well, the immediate,
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Chris. I was gonna say, I know the immediate future is Japan, and you know, the end of May we're gonna get together and rehearse for that, and go tour Japan.
Okay.
And that's what's in concrete at this moment, and the future plans I'll give you over to Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. Well, two things. I just want to interject something too, because I kind of struggle with this whole thing. You know, we get this label recently because Rob, and by the way, Rob, that was a really good answer because I think that's truthful and I love that. You know, there's been a misconception with our band.
Okay.
You know, I've been doing interviews recently. A lot of people go, "So you guys are known as a Christian metal band?" I'm like, "What? We've never been a Christian rock band ever."
Okay.
You
And
know,
by the way,
matter of,
I wasn't suggesting that at all. I was just asking the
oh, okay.
question.
Yeah, but where I was going with that, but I encourage that. And listen, if you have a strong belief, right, and you're, you know, again, you're inherently positive and supportive to your faith, stick with your guns. Don't change. You know, I mean, I encourage that. It's like, look, a lot of guys, I see them putting down bands like Striper, and I used to laugh at that. And I'm going, so who's the people that's doing this? You know, the death metal bands?
Mhm.
It's like, screw them, because I'm listening to them, and 90% of them that I listen to, I think, fuck. They can't sing.
Yep.
They can't play. You know, now I'm not saying all of them. Some of them are very good musically.
Of course.
But, you know, it's the whole battle of good and evil. And I'm always like, dude, you know who wins in the end, right? Good.
Yeah.
Every time. So I'd rather be on the good side, buddy. You know? But anyways, you know, so I think people, if they're Christians, stick with your belief, man. That's awesome.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it just, I get concerned because sometimes, you know, we're writing about things that might not be perceived in a positive light from someone that's Christian. And I don't want to offend them. You know, I just want them to realize that, yes, Rob's absolutely Christian. I've even practiced. I've been in and out of it, right? So, you know, and again, you know, Glenn Sobel, Glenn was Jewish, you know, so everybody has their beliefs, and we're trying to make certain that everybody understands that, you know, you should stand behind what you believe in, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't any kind of, political question or any kind of controversial question. It's just, um, I've read over the years that a lot of the lyrics that Rob has written has had that kind of message into it. And I was just curious if that was true or if that was important to him. And that's about it. So
Yeah.
please don't misconstrue my intention on that. But
Oh, not at all, not at all. I was actually glad you asked it.
Okay, good, 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 good. Yeah, because I'm never one to try to offend when doing an interview. Um, so let's just finish with this then. 6 years have passed since Wicked Maiden. Are we going to wait 6 more years for the next one, or are you sort of hoping to get onto that sort of 2 year album tour cycle kind of thing?
Well, we're just in the beginning stages of this record. I
Absolutely,
mean, we haven't even released the record yet. I
absolutely.
will tell you, as a band, Rob, myself, James, and John, we are ecstatic with the response we're getting for this record. Some of it, to be honest, is a little intimidating to me because I'm thinking, my God, I hope we can live up to the hype,
Hmm.
you know? And so having said that, the object right now is to spend the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, promoting Venom, touring. Any place that will have us will come. Mitch, it might be your backyard, but it's going to be a great keg party. We're there.
Well, I hope it is. In Montreal, we have this festival called Heavy Montreal that takes place every year, and I'm kind of hoping that the 2015 lineup is all set in stone. But I'm certainly would love to see you here in 2016. Absolutely, I think it would be
Well, listen,
great for you.
whoever the promoter is, throw our
Yeah,
name in the
wherever
hat.
we'll
If we
go
got a
anywhere,
following,
man.
we're there.
Well, the promoter is Evenco, so I'll have to put you in contact with them. But listen, last year there was Metallica and 80,000 people showed up. This year it's Slipknot and Lamb of God and Meshuggah and just a ton of great bands. And I think you guys would fit right in. Um, any last words?
Rob?
Well, I don't know. I would just like to thank the fans out there that have followed us all these years and waited. Has it really been 6 years between albums? So
6 years,
waited
yeah.
6 years for another album. It's like,
We thought you
sorry
retired.
about that one, but I really think they're gonna love what we came up with. I mean, we're really really excited about it, and the album is just really kicking hard, and
Yeah.
everyone that hears it loves it. So I'm thinking let's go out and play for all the fans that we can, and I just thank you for all your support for all this time.
And Chris, I'll ask you this. Is the album a lost art? In this day of YouTube and iTunes singles and EPs, is putting together a collection of 10 songs, 12 songs, something still worth doing? Or should we just go to EPs from now on?
It's worth doing if you're passionate about it.
Okay.
So for us, I can say that we wrote a body of music that we were really proud of and we loved. And, we mastered and performed it, recorded it, and now we're going to play it live. And I think, to be honest, basically doing that was really about being true to ourselves. It wasn't about, are we going to sell 1 million records and make $10 million off this record and tour cycle? We've done really, really well in Japan, both monetarily and in sales, right?
Yeah.
Probably sold well over 1 or 2 million records just in Japan alone.
Wow.
So we've done very, very well. But the reality is, at this point, it's about having fun now. So we're making music, and if it's 10 songs, so be it. If it's 3 songs in the future, we love them and want to tour behind them, that would take place or take precedent as well. So I don't have a safe answer to say is it a lost art. From a monetary perspective, this record, we didn't do a cheap record. This was not a record where we did in our bedrooms.
Right.
We went into NRG Studios, which is where Linkin Park did their latest record, Slash did his records there. We did Venom in that same room.
Right.
So, the record budget was a very large budget. This was not some, we're making a record for $15,000. This would be in the tens of thousands, not well over $100,000, all in with real costs.
Right.
So, again, will we ever get the money back? Don't know, don't care. All I know is we're really proud of this, and now we've got a tremendous body of work we can share with the entire world and tour behind.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. Chris, Rob, thank you. It's been a great pleasure, and
You're welcome.
hopefully we'll see you in Montreal, either at the Heavy Montreal Festival, and if not, hopefully at the Bell Center, opening for someone. It'd be great.
That would
I
be
love
nice.
That would be great.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you out there.
That was Chris and Rob of Impelliteri talking about the new album Venom. Make sure to check that out. Also, check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon and head over to the One on One Facebook page. See you soon. Cheers.